Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We've been reading from the Adi Lila, chapter 9, and we shall be continuing from verse 13 onwards. Mukam Karoti Vachalam, Pangum Langhayate Girim, Yat Kripatamham Vande, Shri Gurum Deenatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram, Hari Om Tat Sat. So verses 13 and 15 are given together. Verse 13, Paramananda Puri are Keshav Bharati, Brahmananda Puri are Brahmananda Bharati. Verse 14, Vishnu Puri, Keshav Puri, Puri Krishnananda, Shri Nrsimha Tirtha are Puri Sukhananda. Verse 15, Ay Nava Mula Nikasila Vriksha Mule, Ay Nava Mule Vriksha Karila Nischale. The synonyms are as follows: Paramananda Puri are and Keshav Bharati, Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Puri are and Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri, Keshav Puri, Puri Krishnananda, Shri Nrsimhatirtha are and Puri Sukhananda. Nava of these 9 Mula roots, Nikasila fructified Vrikshamule in the trunk of the tree, and of Mule in these 9 roots, Vriksha the tree, Karila Nischali became very steadfast. Translation: Paramananda Puri, Keshav Bharati, Brahmananda Puri, and Brahmananda Bharati, Shri Vishnu Puri, Keshav Puri, Krishnananda Puri, Shri Nrsimha Tirtha, and Sukhananda Puri. These 9 sannyasi roots all sprouted from the trunk of the tree. Thus the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. Purport: Paramananda Puri belonged to a Brahman family of the Trihut district of Uttar Pradesh. Madhavendra Puri was his spiritual master. In relationship with Madhavendra Puri, Paramananda Puri was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat Ante Khand, there is the following statement: Sanyasira madhe Ishwarira priya patra ar nahi ek puri gosani se matra. Damodar Swarupa Paramananda Puri Sanyasi Parshade A Dui Adhikari Nirvadhi Nikate Thakena Dui Jana Prabhura Sanyase Kare Dandera Grahana Puri Dhyana Para Damoderena Darera Kirtana Yata Priti Ishwarera Puri Goshanire Damodar Swaruperio Tata Priti Kare. Among his sannyasi disciples, Ishwar Puri and Paramananda Puri were very dear to Madhavendra Puri. Thus, Paramananda Puri, like Swarup Damodar, who was also sannyasi, was dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was his constant associate. When Lord Chaitanya accepted the renounced order, Paramananda Puri offered him the danda. Paramananda Puri was always engaged in meditation, and Sri Sarup was always engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered full respect to his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri, he similarly respected Paramananda Puri and Swarup Damodar. It is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya Khanda, chapter 3, that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first saw Paramananda Puri, he made the following statement: Aji dhanya lochana safala, aji janma safala amara, aji haila sarvadharma prabhu bale, Aji Mora Safala Sannyas, Aji Madhavendra More Hal Ila Prakash. My eyes, my mind, my religious activities, and my acceptance of the sannyas order have now all become perfect, because today Madhavendra Puri is manifest before me in the form of Paramananda Puri. The Chaitanya Bhagavat further states: Kathok Shane Anya Karena Pranam Paramananda Puri Chaitanyera Priya Dham. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exchanged respectful obeisances with Paramananda Puri, who was very dear to him. Paramananda Puri established a small monastery behind the western side of the Jagannath temple, where he had a well dug to supply water. The water, however, was bitter, and therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to Lord Jagannath to allow Ganges water to come into the well to make it sweet. When Lord Jagannath granted the request, Lord Chaitanya told all the devotees that from that day hence the water of Paramananda Puri's well should be celebrated as Ganges water. For any devotee who would drink it or bathe in it would certainly get the same benefit as that derived from drinking or bathing in the waters of the Ganges. Such a person would certainly develop pure love of Godhead. It is stated in Chaitanya Bhagavat Antalila 3.255. Prabhu bale ami ye achiye prithivite nishchaya e janiya puri gosanira prite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, I am living in this world only on account of the excellent behavior of Sri Brahmananda Puri. The Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 118 states, Puri Shri Paramanando Ya Asid Uddhavaha Pura. Paramanand Puri is none other than Uddhav. Uddhav was Lord Krishna's friend and cousin. And in Chaitanya Leela, the same Uddhav became the friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his uncle in terms of the relationship in the disciplic succession. Keshav Bharati, the Saraswati Bharati and Puri Sampradayas belong to the Sringeri Mutt in South India, and Sri Keshav Bharati, who at that time was situated in a monastery in Katwa, belonged to the Bharati Sampradaya. According to some authoritative opinions, although Keshav Bharati belonged to the Shankar Sampradaya, he had formerly been initiated by a Vaishnav. He is said to have been a Vaishnav on account of having been initiated by Madhavendra Puri. For some say that he took sannyas from Madhavendra Puri. The temple and deity worship started by Keshav Bharati are still existing in the village known as Khatundi, which is under the postal jurisdiction of Kandara in the district of Burdavan. According to the managers of that mutt, the priests are descendants of Keshav Bharati, and some say that the worshippers of the deity are descendants of the son of Keshav Bharati. In his household alive, he had two sons, Nishapati and Ushapati, and a Brahman of the name Sri Nakadi Chandra Vidyaratna, who was a member of the family of Nishapati, was the priest in charge at the time that Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati visited this temple. According to some, the priest of the temple belonged to the family of Keshav Bharati's brother. Still another opinion is that they descend from Madhav Bharati, who was another disciple of Keshav Bharati's. Madhav Bharati's disciple Balabhadra, who also later became a sannyasi of the Bharati Sampradaya, had two sons in his family named Madan and Gopal. Madan, whose family surname was Bharati, lived in the village of Oriya, and Gopal, whose family surname was Brahmachari, lived in the village of Dendura. There are still many descendants of both families in the Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 52. It is said, Mathurayam Rayam Yajna Sutram Pura Krishnaya Yo Muni Dadau Sandipani So Bhud Adya Keshav Bharati. Sandipani Muni, who formerly offered the sacred thread to Krishna and Balaram, later became Keshav Bharati. It is he who offered sannyas to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is another statement about Keshav Bharati from the Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 117. Iti kechit prabhasante kruraha Keshav Bharati. According to some authoritative opinions, Keshav Bharati is an incarnation of Akrur. Keshav Bharati offered the sannyas order to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the year 1432 Shakabda AD 1510 in Katwa. This is stated in the Vaishnav Manjusha Part 2. Brahmananda Puri, Sri Brahmananda Puri was one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was performing Kirtan in Navadvip, and he also joined Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. We may note in this connection that the name Brahmananda is accepted not only by Mayavadi sannyasis but by Vaishnava sannyasis also. One of our foolish god brothers criticized our sannyasi Brahmananda Swami, saying that this was his Mayavadi name. The foolish man did not know that Brahmanand does not always refer to the impersonal Brahman. Parabrahman, the supreme Brahman, is Krishna. A devotee of Krishna can therefore also be called Brahmanand. This is evident from the fact that Brahmananda Puri was one of the chief sannyasi associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brahmananda Bharati went to see Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Dham. At that time, he used to wear only a deerskin to cover himself, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly indicated that he did not like this deerskin covering. Brahmananda Bharati therefore gave it up and accepted a loincloth of saffron color as used by Vaishnava sannyasis. For some time, he lived with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. So verse number 17. Sorry, 16. Madhyamula Paramanandapuri Mahadhira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kaila Sthira. Madhyamula, the middle root, Paramanandapuri Mahadhira, most sober, Ashtadike in the 8 directions, Ashtamula 8 roots, Vriksha the tree, Kaila Sthira fixed. With the sober and grave Paramanandapuri as the central root and the other 8 roots in the 8 directions, the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood firmly. Verse number 18, 17. Skandhera upare bahu shakha upajila upari shakha asankhya haila. Skandhera upare, upon the trunk, bahu shakha, many branches, upajila grew, upari over and above them, shakha the branches, asankhya innumerable, haila fructified, from the trunk grew many branches and above them innumerable others. Verse 18, Visha shakha kari eka mandala maha shakha chaila brahmand sakala. Visha 2020, shakha branches, kari making group, eka mandala form a society, maha shakha big branches, chaila covered, brahmand the whole universe, sakala all. Thus the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society with great branches covering all the universe. Our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of the branches of the Chaitanya tree. Verse 19, Ekaika shakhate upashakha shata yata upajila shakha ke ganipe kata. Ekaika, each branch, shakhate in the branch, upashakha sub-branches, shata hundreds and hundreds, yata all, upajila grew, shakha branches, ke who ganipe can count, kata how much. From each branch grew many hundreds of sub-branches, no one can count how many branches thus grew. Verse 20, Mukhya shakha ganera naam aganana Aage tak kariba shuna rikshera varnana. Mukhya, the foremost of them all, shakha ganera of the branches, nama name, aganana uncountable, Agi subsequently, the kariba I shall do, shuna please hear, rikshera varnan, the description of the Chaitanya tree. I shall try to name the foremost of the innumerable branches. Please hear the description of the Chaitanya tree. Verse 21, Rikshera upare shaka haila dui skandha eka advaita nama ara nityananda. Rikshera of the tree, upare on the top, shaka branch, haila became dui 2, skandha trunks, eka 1, advaita Shridvaita Prabhu, nama of the name, ar and Nityananda Prabhu. At the top of the tree, the trunk branched into 2. One trunk was named Shridvaita Prabhu and the other Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Verse 22, Saidui skande bahu shakha upajaila tara upashakha gane jagat chaila. Say that Duiskandhi, in the 2 trunks, bahu many shakha branches, upajila grew, tara of them, upashakha gane sub branches, jagat the whole world, chaila covered. From these 2 trunks grew many branches and sub branches that covered the entire world. Verse 23, Bada shakhe upashakha tar upashakha yat upajila tar ke karibe lekha. Bada shakha, the big branches, upashakha sub-branches, tar there, upashakha sub-branches, yata all that, upajila grew, tar of them, ke who, karibe can count, lekha or write. These branches and sub-branches and the sub-branches became so numerous that no one can actually write about them. Verse 24, Shishya Prashishya ar upashishya gana jagat vyapila tar nahika ganana. Shishya disciples, Parashishya grand disciples are, and Upashishya Gan admirers, Jagat the whole world, Vyapila spread, Tar of that, Naika there is none, Ganan enumeration. Thus the disciples and their grand disciples and their admirers spread throughout the entire world, and it is not possible to enumerate them all. Verse 25. Udumbara vriksha yena phale sarva ange e mata bhakti vrikshe sarvatra phale lage. Udumbara vriksha, a big fig tree, yena as if phale grew fruits, sarva all, ange parts of the body, a this mata like bhakti vriksha in the tree of devotional service. Sarvatra all over phala fruit lage appears. As a big fig tree bears fruits all over its body, each part of the tree of devotional service bore fruit. Purport: this tree of devotional service is not of this material world. It grows in the spiritual world where there is no distinction between one part of the body and another. It is something like a tree of sugar, for which part of each tree one tastes. It is always sweet. The tree of bhakti has variety of branches, leaves and fruits, but they are all meant for the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 9 different processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, but all of them are meant only for the service of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, whether one hears, chants, remembers or worships, his activities will yield the same result. Which one of these processes will be the most suitable for a particular devotee? Verse 26. Mula skandhera shakha ar upashakha gane lagile la ye prema phala amritake jine. Mula skandhera of the chief trunk, shakha branch, ar and upashakha gane sub-branches, lagila as it grew, ye that, prema phala the fruit of love, amritake jine such a fruit conquers nectar. Since Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the original trunk, the taste of the fruits that grew on the branches and sub-branches surpassed the taste of nectar. So we'll carry on from here onwards next time. That is from verse 27 onwards next time, from chapter 9, Adi Lila. Thank you for joining. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.